So for this session, we're now going to move on to case studies. So we've just seen this morning a lot of the theory and knowledge around sensors and frameworks for measuring phenotype at all different scales. And now we're going to see how that's actually being applied in the field to real data from several different speakers. Our first one is Qiaomin Chen. So Qiaomin, can you... All right, come up. So put your hands together for Qiaomin.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. And today I'm going to share my research from observation to prediction, integrating simulation, sensing, and AI for crop growth monitoring. And sorry. I know you have already know a lot of about the theories and foundations about phenotyping, but now here I still want to highlight a little bit why the remote sensing data can be used for crop growth monitoring. And as this figure shows that when the sunshine hits the top of the crops, it undergoes three processes: radiation, refraction, and also the transmissions. And also the crop growth status, including the biomass accumulation, leaf area development, the leaf water content, also the leaf chlorophyll content, will directly influence how the plant interact with the incident light. And this basis will form, this interaction will form the basis of the plant spectral signal. And that's why this signal can be captured with some sensors mounted on different platforms like ground station, UAVs, and satellites. And that's why the plant spectral signal can be used to back calculate the crop trait. And we try to summarize the pipeline of mapping the crop traits from the spectral signal here. And like when you use the sensor to capture those plant spectral signals, you want to retrieve the target crop trait from the spectral signal here. And in this conversion, you would need a prediction model to do that. And I will try to use laser bond. And for if you want to build up a prediction model, usually you would need training data to parameterize, calibrate, or train this model. And conventionally, how do we correct the training data? We need to conduct a field experiment first, and then we need to find a UAV or any other technology to capture the canopy reflectance. And ideally, at the same time, we need to measure the crop trait that you are interested in at the same time. And taking the LAI manual measurement as example, there are 3 steps there. The first thing you need to do destructive measurement in the field, and then you need to separate those leaves from the plant, and then you need to measure the leaf areas using a machine like the leaf area meter here. And we find that this process is very destructive, time consuming, and labor intensive. So we're wondering, is it possible to replace this experimental data with simulation data? And the answer is yes. And then we lead to this new solution, mapping crop trait from spectral signal via integrating simulation, sensing, and AI technologies. And here we shows for the generation of the simulation data, we use this crop simulation technology. And here for the canopy spectral signal collection, we use the sensing technology. And here for the establishment of the prediction model, we use the AI technology. And this pipeline can be further standardized into a workflow consisting of 3 steps. The first step, you use the simulation and AI technology to train a model. And then we will have a pre-trained model for the crop trait prediction. The second step, we use the sensor technology for data collection so that we have the model input available. Once we have the model input available and also the model available, we can try to do the inference with the pre-trained model. And for this standard workflow is very naturally, we ask us a question. So how to make the simulation-driven model work in the real-world scenarios? And for this question, we will need to consider some limitations of this methodology we propose here. The first one is the domain gap between the simulation data and the field experimental data. And the second is, so what's the accessibility or availability of the real data you can use? And when we try to develop a model, we expect our model can have a few characteristics. The first one is we hope the model can provide reliable accuracy. And we also hope our model can generalize well across different environments. And the third is we hope our model can be transferred for prediction across spatial scales. And the last one is that because if we want to apply our model in the real world, we hope our model can be observationally feasible. And here for the formalized problem, I would like to provide a overview of those key methods we use in the pilot we proposed before. The first one is the crop growth model. So what's the crop growth model? The crop growth model is a tool to describe like what's happening in the process of crop growth and development in response to changes in the genotype, environment, and management practice. And usually for a classic model, it typically like include 4 types of input. The first one is like the weather data, we color in blue here, and also the soil properties because the crop growth in the soil. And the third one is the management practice, we color in brown here, including the fertilization, irrigation, and how do you use the residue. And the last one is the genotypic parameters. The genotypic parameter will define which kind of genotype you are going to grow in the field. And within the crop model, it tries to simulate some key processes happening there. And like the first one is how the water and nutrient movement, we color gray here. And also the crop internal growth and development processes and the interaction with the environment, we will color like green here. And the last one is the crop environment interaction. And like this figure demonstrates how the key crop traits are simulated in the upstream wheat model. And if we like put these 4 types of parameters into the model, we can get some crop intrinsic traits like the phenology, leaf area, biomass, and the yield. And for example, for this green one is the canopy cover. It will gradually increase as the crop grows over time, and then it will reach the peak value, and then will decrease over time. And another I want to mention that is the radiative transfer model here. Radiative transfer model is designed to simulate how the light interacts with the physical medium, such as the vegetation canopy. And in this remote sensing system, it will constitute a few subsystems here. Like the first is the source. The source is the radiance, normally the sun, including the spectral intensity, the source zenith and axis angles. And the second is atmosphere, but it depends. If you put your sensor like under the atmosphere, like the UAV, you don't need to consider the atmosphere effect. And the third one is your target, the vegetation canopy. and also the ground or soil, because when the canopy is very sparse at the early stage, the soil refattings will have a significant effect on the canopy refattings. And the last one is a detector. Detector is how the spectral signal is recorded in a sensor. And this is one of those, it's a very commonly used radiative transfer model. We call it PERSE model. And here it shows the input of the PERSE model, including those leaf parameters and also some canopy parameters. And then we will have the final output, the canopy refattings. And the canopy refattings can be further transformed into some band refattings of the target sensor via some transformation. And once we have the crop growth model, we know how the crop will grow in a given environment. And then we will have the radiative transfer model here. And we will know how the crop growth process can be recorded in the sensor. If we combine them together, we will have this integrated simulation modeling framework to simulate the crop growth and the spectral signal at the same time. Like the crop growth model output, usually including the phenology, leaf air index, biomass yield, and the canopy refattings, as I mentioned before, we can convert them into the band refattings and further calculate it into some vegetation index. And then we can invert those spectral data to the crop trait via some machine learning models. And why we want to integrate the crop growth model and the radiative transfer model? There are some few reasons. The first one is if we combine them together, that means the radiative transfer model input parameters are constrained to the biology defined in the crop growth model. And also the spectral data are directly adjusted by the G by E by M via the crop growth informed crop traits. And that makes we will have a more realistic simulations in the end for the model training. So we talk a lot of what's the crop model versus radiative model. That's actually what we really do in our work. We choose the FC model as a crop growth model and the PERSE model as a radiative model, and then we propose our own crop growth crop monitoring framework for wheat. In the past few years, we did a few work to enhance the realism of the simulation data and also try to develop more powerful prediction model for crop trait estimation. Here I want to highlight the latest work we recently published is about how to investigate the crop sensor signal transferability. So the problem is we can imagine that we have some derivative data observation, and also we have multiple spectral observations. But we want to know how the crop biomass change over time on a temporal scale. And also we want to know how the difference of the plot within the tribe change in the spatial scale as well. And this will formalize a problem like this. So how to use multiple spectral observation and the derivative data to predict the dairy biomass. If you remember this figure I showed you before, and the model input here would be the weather data is at dairy scale, and another input would be the spectral observations is discontinuous at dairy scale. And the model output would be the biomass at dairy scale as well. And then if we want to do this conversion, we develop a SpecRedNet model. It's a two-stage model. It can accommodate different input frequency and also accommodate different input sources. And this is how we generate a representative simulation dataset, include a lot of like different growth conditions and observation conditions, like including different soil in different location, different weather conditions, different soil and nitrogen conditions. And in total, we create a very huge and representative simulation dataset spanning different like geographical location, yes, counterverse environments and management. And the second step, once we have that simulation dataset available, we will try to design our model. Our model is two-stage. This is try to tackle the issue, the temporal inconsistency, because if you remember, the dairy data, the weather data is at dairy scale, and the spectral data is non-dairy, and this will cause a temporal inconsistency of two different types of input data. So we separate these two prediction stage, and that this will improve the robustness of the final prediction of the biomass in our model. The second thing is we use a masking technology here, like as you can see, because a real spatial observation is discontinuous. So we try to mimic the real observation frequency based from the artificial continuous spectral data here. So we use the mask technology here that is try to just randomly remove some spatial observations in between. And then we will create a spectral encoder that can reconstruct the dairy spectral data from the non-dairy spectral data here. And another thing is we have the biomass regressor, which can predict the dairy biomass from the reconstructed dairy weather observation here. And for the biomass prediction here, we also try to incorporate some prior knowledge there. The first thing is we will prevent the model to predict excessive dairy accumulation and prevent the model to decrease over time. Different to the very complex process of the model establishment, the deployment of the model in real world is very simple. You just need to provide the dairy weather data and the real spectral observation, and then you will get the dairy biomass as we show here. And here I would like to present some results of our model. We combine our model with another baseline. Our model is spectral driven, and the baseline is some biophysical trace driven. And you can see here, these two lines is the crop trace driven, and the other three is spectral driven. And we try to compare their performance on the seasonal scale, dairy scale, also different growth stage scale. And we can see our spectral driven model is slightly less accurate than the baseline, but the performance is already sufficiently high. And compared to those crop trace, the spectral data is apparently more easily accessible. So that makes that will provide the evidence of our model is reasonable. And the second thing is because we know we have a lot of different sensors are using now. So we want to see if our method can adapt to different sensors to provide similar good estimation of the dynamic biomass. And the answer is yes, because you can see this one, the red one, is we mimic a sensor used on the Sentinel-2, and the green one is the multispectral sensor used on the Planiscope. And the red one is a red edge camera, usually mounted on the UAV. And you can see their performance is very similar on different comparison scale. here we only talking about the difference of the sensor on the spectral dimension. We didn't like talk about the spatial temporal resolution, what's happening in the real world. And after that, because we need that the real spectral observation is discontinuous, so we will try to compare the performance when we input the dairy spectral data and input non-dairy weather data. You can see there's a reduction if we reduce the availability of spectral data. But same, the non-dairy spectral data as the input, the model performance for the biomass prediction is still relatively high. The RMAE is like at most COP stages is less than 6% on the simulation data. And now, after validate our model on an independent simulation dataset, we want to see how well the model can really work in the real world scenarios. So we try to validate our model using some real field experiment data here. The first thing is we try to validate our model for the tri-level biomass estimation. As you can see here, we collect some tri-level biomass across the Australian wheat belt here, and the accuracy is pretty high. Reliable is, and we also try to validate our model for the plot scale biomass estimation using 4 years field experiment conducted in Gatton campus here. And you can see the model performance for the tri-level biomass and the pole level biomass estimation is close, is comparative. And we want to do one more thing here, like we want to see, because we know different satellite data will have different spectral resolution. So we want to see how this difference in the spectral resolution will affect the model performance on the pixel scale here. I want to explain a little bit for the tri example I provide here. This tri actually is split into tens of plots, and each plot will grow different counters. That means the crop growth difference between the plots will become more pronounced over time. And you can see our predicted biomass can reproduce this temporal pattern of the difference. And for this figure here, each line represent the dynamics of each pixel within the tri here. And the conclusion is that no matter which sensor or satellite data you use as input, if the prediction of the biomass is at a tri level, they will provide very similar estimation as the blue and red light demonstrated here. But if you want to have more insight at the pixel level, like within the tri variability, the planet scale data will provide you higher within tri variability. And the last thing is that we also want to see how well our model can provide the difference of the pole level biomass to distinguish the variation of the counters. And we have some very interesting results. And like for the trial here, we divide into different management practices. Like the top left is the irrigation high nitrogen, and the top right is the rain-fed high nitrogen. And the bottom, left bottom is the irrigation low nitrogen, and the last one is the rain-fed low nitrogen. And like as the crop goes over time, you can see the cultivar grow under the high nitrogen achieve higher biomass than those grow under the low nitrogen treatment. And because our experiment is a double plot design. So you can see these two plots will show a very different, a very apparent difference to the other plots. So I mean, you can see the double plot design here from our prediction. And also because one plot is can perform the destructive measurement. Another one is left nothing to do for the UV phenotyping. So you can see that one with the destructive measurement will have a little bit this one lower biomass than the other one that we don't conduct the destructive measurement. So this will indicate that our model was quite well for distinguish the variety difference at the pod level within a trial. So this overall, we just want to demonstrate how the remote sensing technology and crop simulation AI can be integrated together to advance the remote sensing based prediction of biomass to support the sustainable agriculture. I think, yeah, this is all from the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Qiaomin. Really, really insightful and great to see pulling together all these different aspects that we've been learning about. So I saw a question over here.
Thanks, Qiaomin. Very nice work. I really like the way how you link Epstein with for sale. My question is, if we would like to use this framework to pasture paddock, and imagine the paddock, we have lots of different pasture type, like ryegrass, clover, and their canopy single is different.
Yeah.
So in this way, how to make your framework also fit for this spatial variance?
I think the most actually the same framework can be integrated to tackle your problem. Yeah, for the pasture biomass prediction. And as you mentioned, you grow many different cultivars in the same field. They will exhibit many different canopy structures. And I think that's not the problem of our framework. That's the problem of what kind of data you're going to use. Because depending on the pot, the size of the cultivar growing in your field, if you use the UAV data, absolutely that's not a problem because the UAV spectral resolution is very high. Yeah, it can capture those very difference between the plots. But if you use the satellite data, that will depend the plot size and the pixel size. If the plot size is bigger than the pixel size, I think that is not a problem. But if the plot size is smaller than the pixel size, I don't think the satellite data can retrieve those between plot variation.
Okay, thanks. Another question. So if there are 10 we have 10 pasture types. So we need to calibrate Epstein for each of this cultivar, or just use the one most widespread.
Okay. Because as I present here, because our final goal is try to use a single model, try to develop a single model that can work everywhere under diverse environment. This environment will be constituted from different genotype, different validated, different soil data and management practices. For the question you propose here, you need to ensure that the simulation data that you're going to train your model is big enough, is diverse enough, is representative enough. You don't need to calibrate your model specifically for a specific cultivar. It's not necessary. You just need to make sure that the distribution of the simulation aligns well with the distribution of the real data. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Excellent presentation. My question is, does this framework improve the accuracy and stability of genotypes across environments compared to standard phenotyping methods? And if yes, how large is the improvement to justify routine breeding deployment?
Oh, okay. We try to do a comparison with between our method and some existing methods because we are using different data sets. So I think it's unfair and it's impossible to do a quantitative comparison, but we do a qualitative comparison. And you can see that our method provide the accuracy is very similar to those have already published, like using different methods, like just using the remote sensing, like remote sensing driven model or those called model simulation or the assimilating the remote sensing data into the core model, that kind of methods, the accuracy is very similar. But we did do a comparison with the very traditional method, the logistic modeling, because the logistic model can be used to interpolate the biomass in between. But the advantage or superior of our method is that the prediction of the biomass just relies on the spatial data and the weather data. We don't need to do any field measurement of the biomass. But the logistic model, even they can provide you more accurate prediction of the mixed-in biomass at those unobserved age. But you need to provide a few measurement of the biomass. Yeah, that's the difference.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there because we're trying to catch up on a little bit of time. So thank you so much, Qiaomin. That was a fascinating talk, and we'll call up our next